Good afternoon, thanks for joining us. We begin with the situation in Gaza this lunchtime, where it's being reported that at least 50 people have been killed in 3 separate Israeli strikes over the last 24 hours. The health ministry there says the number of people who've died since October the 7th has now risen to 42,519. These are the latest pictures from the Al-Aqsa hospital, where some of the injured across Gaza have been arriving. Overnight, at least 33 people were reportedly killed and dozens were wounded after Israeli strikes happened in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Meanwhile, the hospital says another strike killed 11 people, all from the same family, in the Al-Maghazi refugee camp. And in central Gaza, at least 10 people, including 2 children, are reported to have been killed as well. This all comes as Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, insists Hamas is alive and will remain alive, despite the death of its leader Yahya Sinwar at the hands of Israeli forces this week. Our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, is across developments from Tel Aviv.
The operation that killed Sinwar was not aimed at getting him, despite the over a year and a half, over at least a year of efforts to find him. Huge amounts of intelligence efforts focused on trying to track down the very elusive Yahya Sinwar. He was actually, it seems, killed, as you say, almost coincidentally. He was in a building on the surface in Rafah when an Israeli artillery round went in and blew up the side of that building. That seems to have wounded him, and then he was found by Israelis later. Has to be said, though, this is a man who showed no compassion for his own people, Palestinians as well as his Israeli enemies. And he kind of pioneered this form of resistance, which includes using civilians, Palestinians, as human shields and putting his fighters below hospitals and in amongst civilians, which makes Hamas a very difficult enemy for Israel to fight. And there's a huge amount of concern about one hospital in Jabalia now, the Indonesian hospital it's called, where Israeli tanks have surrounded the medics there. So it's been cut off from power, and overnight an airstrike seems to have killed more than 30 Palestinian civilians there, more than 21 of them women and children. So just another terrible night for Palestinian civilians, as Israelis focused their efforts in Jabalia, where they thought they had crushed Hamas at least twice before, now involved in a third ground offensive there. And the cost for that in terms of civilian life is very high again.